Hi guys, and welcome back to my desk. Tonight we are covering book 41 of 100, and we're breaking away from Fear Street to a solid adult thriller novel. Let me bring up some lighting here and we will jump in. These matches are behaving so strangely on me tonight. They're real late starters, and I'm not sure why, but we got our candle lit. Now let's jump in. So, book 41 is Our Last Echoes by Kate Alice Marshall. I have a lot to say about this book, guys. And let's just jump in, I guess. How about I start by reading you the back before I start telling you all the things that I love about this book, because it was a really good book. Maybe you don't have to die to be a ghost. In 1973, the 31 residents of Bitter Rock disappeared. In 2003, so did my mother. Now, I've come to Bitter Rock to find out what happened to her and to me, because Bitter Rock has many ghosts, and I might be one of them. Sophia's earliest memory is of drowning. She remembers the darkness of the water, the briny taste as it filled her throat, the sensation of hands pulling her back to safety. But that memory is impossible. She's never been to the ocean. Then Sophia gets a mysterious call about an island named Bitter Rock, where she and her mother went for summer 15 years ago, and her mother never returned. The hunt for answers lures her to the island from which people have been vanishing for decades, leaving only their ghostly echoes behind. Sophia is the only one who can break the cycle, or risk becoming nothing more than another echo haunting Bitter Rock. So, that is the synopsis given for this book to pull in a reader. And I will say, when I first read it, I found it engaging, interesting. It made me want to read the book. But now, having read the book, I think that the book is more interesting than the synopsis gives it credit for. So, there are a couple things that are book. One was the story, two was the writing style, and the third was kind of the different way in which the book was structured. And I have never read a fiction book, and you may have, I don't know, that was structured in this way. So, let me open it and I'll show you. So, to start with, this book is told in a really interesting way. The story is told in a really interesting way. It opens with a kind of disclaimer about the content that is to follow. That's very, found footage style movies. That's this in a book. So I've never encountered that before. And I have a feeling this author, Kate Alice Marshall, might have a series, especially because there are two very similar book covers on the back of other stories she has written. And the fact that this says The Ashford Files, File 77, that she may do other books that are in a similar style, and kind of about the Ashford Files. So it doesn't give anything away for me to tell you this, that there's a Professor Ashford who studies kind of paranormal activities that is not a feature character in this book. He is mentioned and he's related to other characters in the book, but I have a feeling that she may have a series of books about this guy's research, I guess. That's what I would say. So if this book sounds interesting to you, there may be others. I probably should have researched that before doing this review, but I didn't. So it is structured into parts, which isn't relevant to what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is this. So I mentioned it's kind of found footage style movie in a book. So there are different sections of the book where the narrative of the story is told as a normal book would be told. But then it is interspersed, or these different exhibits or interviews or kind of videotape transcripts are interjected into the story at different points to provide further context to the story. And it was such an interesting experience to read a book like this. And if you've read another book like this, then you might not find it as interesting of a structure as I did. But I really think it was a really different way to tell a story that I hadn't encountered before. And I don't know, some of you out there might be like, how have you never encountered this before? Maybe it's something that's fairly common and I just have managed to avoid it so far in my life. But I've seen it in nonfiction books that I've read where they'll have actual packets of information from different sources, but I've never seen it in a fiction book. So that's just kind of structurally something that was unique and attractive about this book for me that I didn't even know until I started reading it. I didn't know that it was going to be like that. So there's that. Now let me talk about the content of the book. This is, I would say, a supernatural thriller kind of. Yeah, that's what I'm going to classify it as. It is unsettling, and maybe I use that word often in reviews when it comes to kind of horror-esque thriller type novels, but I think it really captures something, that feeling that's not fear, but just like the shivery feeling you get where like the hair stands up on the back of your neck and you feel like you need to look over your shoulder, but you're scared to do that because something might be there. That is the feeling that this book invoked in me as I got further into it. And it's just good. So the words I wrote down at the top of my pages for this book were eerie, unsettling, tense, suspenseful, and otherworldly. Those are the words that came to the forefront of my brain reading this book. I think they really capture the content inside of it. So eerie, unsettling, tense, suspenseful, and otherworldly. I think the setting was great. The characters were great. The suspense building was really good. The crafting of the evil was really good and unique. It was a good book. It was good. It was fun to read and scary. I hate using the word scary to describe a book. It sounds so Halloween. It sounds so little kid or someone jumping out from behind a corner and startling you, it is uncomfortable. It makes you uncomfortable. It makes you second guess. It makes you turn on the light. Double check your reflection in the mirror. Double check the shadows you think you see out of the corner of your eye. Listen harder to the sounds that creak in your house at night. Those are the feelings that make a good story like this, Even though there is a supernatural element to it, the reality and the feelings that it evokes make you feel a little unsafe, a little unsure, and I think that's really the hallmark of a good story. you know, it's really what you want. If this is the type of book that you read, if you're into thriller, suspense, mystery, horror, the experience that you are searching for in a book like that is all of those things that I just talked about, those feelings. I think, at least for me, that is the case. And this book did all of those things really well. You know, I just really liked it, and I would definitely recommend it. And I really want to look at more by this author, because I think she has a really unique writing style structure in this story, and I don't know if she does it in other stories, but I'm interested to see what she does in other books that she has written. So yeah, I think that's also a sign of a good book, is it's not very often that I read a book and then I think I want to check out what other else this author has put out into the world. A lot of the times, you know, I read a book and I enjoy it, but I just want to move on to the next thing. I just kind of, I don't know, I've just never been someone that's gravitated to authors. Is that something you guys do? Are you people who seek out many books by the same authors? I've kind of hit that this year of reading the Preston and Child books. That's the only time that I really go back to an author, is when I hit a character that I like, that I want to experience more of. I don't have that feeling outside of that. And this is kind of the first time where I've really read a book and thought, I don't think this story continues, but I want to know other stories by this author, because this one was it was such a good experience for me that I hope there is more. I hope that her other books give me the same positive feeling, even though all of the feelings that this book generated were technically like negative emotional reactions to this story. But overall, it was such a good book. You know, I don't know, I feel like I'm talking in circles now. Let me go back to my notes. This always happens. This is why I make notes, guys. Okay, so, she's excellent at describing uncomfortable feelings and setting the tone in a way that the reader experiences what the characters are experiencing. So I wrote this down, this note here. So this is an excerpt from page 209 to 210. It splits, so I kind of copied it down here. I knew the feeling she was feeling because I felt it too, like the rush of beetles away from the light, skittering and chittering in the air that you couldn't hear, but you could feel. something here, something wrong, but nothing you could put words to. It's just, that was the end of the quote, sorry. It was, and out of context of the book, I'm not sure it resonates the same way. I hope that it does, but just, you know that feeling because you felt it when, oh God, it's just, I can feel it, you know, like the rush of beetles away from the light, a skittering and chittering in the air that you couldn't hear, but you could feel. That sense of, oh, something is wrong, you know, something is off here, but you can't put that into words. It's just this really uncomfortable, forceful discomfort of something is wrong, even though on the surface level, everything looks fine. You know, like deep in your soul, you need to get out of there. Yeah, I don't know if that, I probably didn't read it very effectively either. But, oh, she just has this great way of describing things so simply, but so accurately that you have a perfectly clear picture of what the characters are experiencing, you know, and even though otherwise something might not seem, or it might seem kind of innocuous, or if it was written a different way, but because it's described so well, you can relate to it so well that, oh man, this author does this so well. It is excellent, unique storytelling. It's told in parts through first-hand narrative, movie clips, media articles, and it's a great way to weave together different timelines. So that was me reading from my notes because they're right in front of me. Because this book kind of takes place in different eras, it can be really hard to do that well, to portray different timelines at the same time, to just kind of weave them on top of one another so the reader doesn't get confused or bogged down, but the way that she uses these kind of found footage-esque elements to tell different levels of the story at the same time to the reader without the reader getting lost is just really well done. And it reads almost like a movie script, if that makes sense. So if you've ever read like a screenplay for like a movie, like they did that with like the Fantastic Beasts movies, they came out with books that were kind of like the movie script. That's not what this is. It isn't like character enters scene, blah, 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 blah. But reading this book was like watching a TV show, if that makes sense. Not in the sense of if you're a reader who actively pictures the story in your mind as you're reading, not in that way, but it reads like a TV show. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a clearer way to describe what I mean by that, and I can't. So I'm sorry if I'm failing to do that. or if it doesn't make sense, or if it's making the wrong kind of sense. But it's just another way in which this book was a unique read for me. So I really appreciated that as well. It's just an entirely different reading experience than any of the 40 other books that I've read since February of 2023. And I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend it. If this is the type of story that appeals to you, this kind of modern, ghost-esque story, suspenseful thriller, then definitely check this out. I got this from Book Outlet. I imagine you can get it on Amazon or at your library, wherever. But definitely check it out if you can, if this is something that interests you. The tagline is, "All stories turn into ghost stories if you wait long enough." And I also thought that was genius. And now maybe I'm praising the book too much, which is very possible. I feel like I'm going too positive on this one. Sometimes I worry about being too negative, and now I'm worrying about being too positive. There were some things, there's always, you gotta balance the good with the things that are less good. But I think for me, the overwhelming positive of this book outweighed any weird little things that I might have found annoying or whatever, because I can't remember them now. I just remember it being a good experience. I do remember moments of kind of being like, but again, I can't remember those now. So ultimately, it's a heavy recommendation for this one. Strong recommend. So if you see it somewhere, check it out. I'm probably going to check out something else by this author this year, so you might see her name pop up again, and I guess we'll find out if it was a one-hit wonder or not. Because I'm really interested to find out. I do think that if this style is repeated, I don't know that that can be done successfully, or not that it can't be done successfully, but that it would be as enjoyable to read like a series of books that were structured in this way. I think that might get old or boring or just too much. But I guess I'll have to wait and find out. So if you've read anything else by this author, definitely let me know if you liked it, or if you've read this book, if you liked it, if any other books that she's written are structured in a similar way, if they worked in that structure or if they didn't, because I do think it would be something that would be hard to pull off in a series of books, like to do over and over again. Well, it seems like it would be hard to do. So yeah, that's it. This was book 41, Our Last Echoes by Kate Alice Marshall. It is at this point in the video that I would normally preview the next book. However, I don't know what the next book is going to be yet. I have started reading one, but I'm not sure if it's going to be the next one or not. We'll just have to wait and see. I did start reading a book after this one, and it didn't work out. It was not a good book, so I stopped and moved on to another one. So we'll just have to wait and see what book 42 is going to be together. That's it for this one, guys, and I hope I was able to give you enough information, even though basically all I did was heap praise on this book, to find out if you would want to read this book or not. I hope you do, but if you don't, that's okay. To each his own. Some people probably read this book and didn't like it at all, did not like the structure. I can understand how people would find it frustrating or just not a cohesive way to read a book. But for me, it was great. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to stop talking now. And I'm going to say goodnight, and I'm going to say thank you for joining me at my desk, and I hope to see you here again soon. Bye, guys.